This is not just a story. This is your life up now.
1. The beginning. You are born into a scream. Not yours, your mother's. Outside, it is deep winter, February. The fjord is sealed in ice, the world locked under snow and wind, and the longhouse groans every time the storm presses against its walls. Inside, life hangs on small things, a low fire, a few animals, a roof that still holds, and the stubborn will of people too poor to die. The cattle are kept inside near the entrance because if they freeze, your family starves before spring. The air is thick with smoke, dung, sour milk, wet wool, and the breath of too many people sleeping too close together. Somewhere in the dark, a child coughs. Somewhere else, a man turns in his sleep and mutters. Nobody has eaten well in weeks. The midwife lifts you into the firelight. Her hands are hard and cracked, her face lined like old wood. She studies you longer than anyone likes. Babies do not always live here. Some are born too weak. Some are not strong enough to justify the food they will consume. That is the truth of this place. No one says it aloud. Everyone knows it anyway. Then she looks at your father and gives a single nod. That means you are allowed to stay. Your father takes you into his arms and holds you over the fire, close enough to warm your skin, not close enough to burn. He speaks a name over you, an old name, one carried by men before you, a name that already has weight in the room. You know none of this. You only cry. But the world has heard you now, and the world, cold and practical, has already decided what kind of use it may have for you. 2. Childhood that moves too fast. You grow quickly because children who do not grow quickly do not last. At 3, you carry water in wooden pails that bruise your legs when you walk. At 5, you split kindling with numb hands while your father watches without praise. At 7, you drive goats along a slope above the fjord where the wind hits hard enough to make your eyes stream and your teeth ache. If one slips away, you chase it. If you fail, you pay for it at home. Winter teaches you hunger before it teaches you anything else. Meals are barley porridge, dried fish, old cheese when there is any, and sometimes nothing worth naming. Summer is kinder. There are berries, milk, short green weeks when the land softens and people remember how to laugh. But summer in the north is brief, and nobody trusts it. Your father is a man of few words and hard hands. He does not beat you often, but when he does, you remember it. He teaches you work before comfort, silence before complaint, and the knife before anything like letters. Reading is not for boys like you. Runes belong to old men, priests, and those with time to waste on memory cut into wood. Your life is muscle, weather, and obedience. When you are 9, your mother dies giving birth. The baby dies too. They bury them together in a mound beyond the field. Your father stands over the grave without tears, his face blank as frost. You watch him and learn the lesson immediately. Grief is not something men display. So you do not cry either. That night, in the dark of the longhouse, you hear him grinding his teeth in his sleep. Years later, you will hear the same sound coming from your own mouth. Something hard enters you that winter. It does not leave. 3. Entering the role. You are 10 when you first see Ulf, and 12 when your father gives you to him. Not sells you, not abandons you, gives you. That is the word people use. Boys are given to blacksmiths, shipbuilders, traders, men who can shape them into something useful. Ulf is useful too, just in a different way. He arrives in spring when the snow still lingers in the shadow of the trees and the mud is black underfoot. He is huge, thick neck, broad shoulders, pale eyes that never seem to rest on anything for long. Across his back he wears a bearskin, heavy and dark, the head still attached. It is not decorative, it is a warning. People lower their voices around him, even the loud ones. You stare from the corner of the room, and something cold moves through your chest. Not fear exactly, recognition. As if some part of you has been waiting for him long before you knew his name. His house stands at the edge of the forest, far from the village, far from any place where ordinary people sleep well. The nearest neighbor is hours away. That is no accident. The first month with him is only labor, chopping wood, hauling water, cleaning tools, feeding two great wolfhounds that watch you without blinking. You sleep near the door, you eat what remains. Ulf barely speaks. Sometimes a full day passes with nothing but the sounds of the wind, the dogs, and your own breathing. Then the training changes. He teaches you vigilance first. He strikes you without warning, with a staff, with a wooden blade, with his bare hand, while you are eating, working, even drifting into sleep. You learn quickly that surprise is a luxury for softer people. Later, he teaches you something stranger. Not how to fight, how to vanish inside the fighting. How to open a door in yourself and step through it.
IV. Daily life. By 15, you have killed your first man. By 17, you join your first raid. The killing happens on a forest road. 3 robbers come out of the trees thinking there are only 2 travelers to strip and leave in the mud. Ulf kills 2 before you understand what is happening. The 3rd rushes at you. You move without thought. Your knife goes in under the ribs. He makes a sound you will remember later, though not in the moment. In the moment, everything is simple. Afterward, you stare down at the body and wait for your hands to shake. They do not. That frightens you more than the blood. Ulf studies you and says only one word: ready. When the time comes for the raid, nothing matches the songs men sing in winter halls. The ship stinks of tar, stale fish, sweat, and piss. Men sleep where they sit, half curled around shields and bundles. The sea is not noble. It is labor, nausea, cold spray in the face, and the knowledge that if you go over the side in rough water, the ship keeps moving. There are 22 men aboard. Most have known each other for years. You are known only as Ulf's apprentice, and that is enough to keep questions away. One man, though, talks to you anyway. His name is Thord. Red hair, broken front tooth, loud laugh. He fears almost nothing except deep water, which the others find funny. You do not laugh, but you remember him. The target is a monastery on the Frankish coast. Silver, grain, cloth, livestock, slaves if there are any worth taking. The Jarl calls it trade and smiles at his own joke. Nobody else does. Before the landing, Ulf gives you powder. Dried, bitter, ground fine. You swallow it. You know what it does now. Or think you do. 5. The first great battle. The shore is shrouded in fog when the ship grinds onto stone. The water is so cold it bites through your legs like teeth as you jump out and help drag the hull higher onto the beach. Ahead, on a rise above the coast, the monastery appears through the mist. Pale walls, dark roof, bell tower already alive with alarm. They have seen you. It does not matter. The powder begins to work before you reach the slope. The world tightens. Sound becomes sharp enough to cut. Every footstep, every breath, every scrape of metal against wood arrives too clearly, too loudly. Your skin prickles as if the air itself is touching you. Your heartbeat becomes enormous. Beside you, Ulf makes a sound that is not human speech and not quite an animal roar. That is the signal. What follows does not stay whole in your memory. Only pieces survive. your shoulders smashing into a gate, wet wood under your hands, a monk running with his mouth open, though you cannot hear what he is saying, a spear point flashing past your face, fire climbing a wall, someone on the ground, someone screaming, more than one someone. Then nothing. Or not nothing, just absence. When you return to yourself, you are on the shore again, seated on cold stones as if someone has set you there. Your axe is buried in the gravel at your feet. Your forearms are red to the elbows. Thord sits beside you, breathing hard, staring at you in a way that tells you he is no longer guessing what you are. "You killed 7, he says. I count it." You look at your hands. Later, the sickness comes. It always comes later. You stagger to the water and vomit until there is nothing left. Nobody watches you. Nobody mocks you. The men know what follows men like you after the fury leaves. The ship sails heavy with silver. The Jarl is pleased, but he looks at you like a man looks at a chained beast, valuable, dangerous, and never truly welcome near the fire. IVI, Years of Raids. The years after that first monastery blur together, but not because they are all the same. They blur because they stack inside you without rest, one summer raid over another, one coastline bleeding into the next, one scream echoing into 100 more. England, Francia, Ireland, once farther east, up broad rivers lined with forests and strange settlements where the language changes, but fear looks exactly the same. Each year you return with more silver, not enough to become a great man, enough to become a known one. That matters. You buy your own chainmail instead of stripping it from a corpse. That is important to you in a way you cannot explain. You carry a good knife with a carved bone handle. You wear silver rings. Your share grows larger. Jarls who once barely noticed you now ask whether you will join their ships. Men make room when you sit down. They also watch your hands. Reputation is 2 things at once. It brings wealth. It brings distance. Children stop talking when you enter a room. Women do not look at you with softness. They measure danger. Men who speak boldly to one another choose careful words around you. Nobody says it plainly, but everyone knows what you're for. You are welcome before battle, less welcome after. There is one woman for a while, Astrid. She is the blacksmith's daughter, with red hair and a laugh too loud for polite rooms. She talks to you as if you are only a man. Either she is fearless, or she understands fear and refuses to bow to it. You spend one winter with her. The long, dark months feel shorter. She says you could stop, take land, build a house, keep animals, grow older in one place. You want to explain that men like you do not stop cleanly, but you do not know how. Spring comes, you leave. When you return, she is promised to a carpenter, a good man. A man whose hands build instead of destroy. You go to the wedding anyway. You drink mead. You look into the fire. You say little. Thord sits beside you and says nothing at all, which is his way of being kind. Ulf dies when you are 23. No battle, no glorious ending. He simply does not wake up. You stare at his body for a long time, waiting for some final meaning to reveal itself. None does. You take the bearskin. Now it is yours. The only thing he leaves behind that feels like an answer.
7. Decline. By 26, your body begins to collect payment. The first debt is your knee. A spear found it in Northumbria a year ago, just above the joint. The wound closed, but not well. In damp weather, it throbs. In winter, it burns and stiffens until getting to your feet feels like a private battle fought before the day has even begun. Sometimes you wake in the dark with your teeth clenched so hard your jaw aches. The second debt is your head. At first, it is only pain after the rage leaves you, a pounding behind the eyes, a ringing in the ears. Then it becomes more than that. There are mornings when you cannot remember how you fell asleep or whether you spoke to anyone the night before. Small things go missing in your mind. A cup set down somewhere, a conversation half held, a face that should have a name and does not. Then come the shadows. Not the visions of the powder, you know those well enough now. Those arrive hot and sharp and strange. This is different. These are movements in the corner of your eye, sounds at the edge of hearing, a figure where there is only a coat hanging in the dark, a voice under the wind that becomes nothing when you turn your head. You tell no one, but Thord notices anyway. He raids less now. He has a wife, 2 children, and reasons to come home alive. He sits beside you one night with a cup in his hand and looks at you with an expression you hate more than contempt: concern. You won't hold together much longer, he says, not cruelly, just as a fact. You nod, because lying would insult you both. The third debt is the powder. At first, you take it before battle, then before difficult battles, then on nights when your head will not quiet down, then on nights when your head is quiet because quiet has become something you no longer trust. Ulf never used it outside combat, you know that. He warned you without saying the words. There are doors that should not be opened unless blood is already in the air. You open them anyway. One day in the village, not in battle, not even near a ship, a man in the Jarl's service says something you do not even remember afterward. You feel the shift happen inside you. Fast, wrong, familiar. Then, blankness. When your mind returns, you are on the ground with both hands around his throat. He is alive. Barely. The new Jarl watches from a few paces away. He says nothing. That silence is worse than punishment. You stand up and walk away, and nobody tries to stop you. That is when you understand the truth at last. A weapon that cannot tell friend from enemy is not feared. It is marked for replacement. 8. The final raid. You know the last raid is the last before the ship even leaves shore. Not because anyone says it, because something in you has started listening to endings. It is autumn, which is already a mistake. Seas turn cruel early, and men with sense are home securing food for winter, not chasing silver across hostile water. But the Jarl is young and eager, hungry for a victory that will sound large in the hall when snow comes. He wants one more strike against the English coast before the season closes. So he goes. And because there is still use left in you, so do you. There are only 12 men on the ship. Too few. No one says that either. No one needs to. The weather is bad from the start. Wind slaps spray across the deck. The sky stays the color of old iron. Thord comes despite everything. He claims he only came because he did not trust you to die without supervision. You almost laugh. Almost. The landing is wrong before it begins. The beach is narrower than promised. The path inland is exposed. The settlement you were told would be lightly guarded is awake, armed, and waiting with more men than expected. Someone spoke too freely, or someone lied. It makes no difference now. You take the powder. Too much. You know it is too much while you are swallowing it. You do not care. The first moments are clear. Wet grass under your boots, shield impact, the sound of axes striking wood and bone, the salt stink of the nearby sea mixing with smoke. Thord is on your left for a while, then maybe on your right, then nowhere you can place. After that, the world tears apart. There is no sequence, only force, only heat, only the animal certainty that whatever stands before you must stop standing. When awareness comes back, the battle is gone. Night presses low over the field. The grass is cold under your cheek, damp with rain or blood or both. You try to rise and nothing answers the command properly. Pain lives everywhere at once. Side, chest, leg, shoulder, skull. Your breath catches halfway in. You turn your head. Thord lies a few yards away on his back. Still. You wait for movement. A cough. A curse. One of his stupid jokes. Nothing comes. Around you there is only wind and the far sound of the sea. No voices from your own men. No enemy finishing the wounded. Maybe everyone is dead. Maybe they fled. Maybe they stepped over you thinking the same thing you were beginning to understand. You were already gone. You lie back and look up. The stars are sharp tonight. Cold, distant, indifferent. You think of Astrid. Not dramatically, not like a man in a song. You think of a warm room, of another life built from ordinary things. A wife sleeping beside her husband, children breathing in the dark, wood smoke in the beams, a winter that means endurance instead of waiting for spring violence. You think, good. You think, let that life belong to someone. The eastern sky starts to pale. You do not see the full dawn.
9. Aftermath. Local villagers find the bodies 2 days later. They come carefully, in small numbers, carrying shovels and fear. Raids are not stories to them. Raids are ruined grain stores, dead sons, burned roofs, and work left undone because the dead must be dealt with before animals get bold. They move among the fallen with the practical caution of people who have no room in life for ceremony. They do not know your name. To them, you are only one more northern dead man, broad-shouldered, scarred, wrapped in filth, blood, and the remains of something that looks almost like an animal hide. They strip the silver rings from your hands. Of course they do. Silver feeds the living better than memory ever will. The bearskin stays where it is. It has rotted at the edges from rain and mud, but it still looks wrong enough to leave alone. They bury you near the shore in a shallow grave with the others they cannot identify. No carved stone, no mound, no priest from your world speaking words over you. No one places a weapon in your hands. No one tells the story of your battles. No one even marks the ground in a way that will last beyond a few seasons of weather. Back home, nothing stops. The sea does not return the ship on time. That happens. Then longer passes, and people understand. The Jarl counts losses, curses the bad luck, blames bad scouting, and begins thinking about spring before winter has even finished arriving. Men like him do not stay with grief unless grief is politically useful. Your father is already dead. Ulf is dead. Thord is dead. Astrid hears the news months later, most likely while doing some ordinary task, kneading dough, mending wool, carrying water. She pauses, perhaps, looks toward the door, says nothing for a moment. Then life resumes, because that is what life does for those still trapped inside it. Maybe one man in the hall remembers a story about you during the first winter after your death. Maybe by the second winter, the story shortens. By the third, someone younger asks, which one was he? And that is the real burial, not the earth, the forgetting. Within a generation, your name is gone from speech. Within 2, even the shape of your life has dissolved. The grave sinks, grass covers it. The coast keeps its own counsel, and the bearskin rots beside your bones. Chapter 10. Life Summary. Years lived. Around 27, perhaps 28. That is enough for several lives in one age and barely half of one in another. In your world, it is not old, but it is no longer young. It is an age where a farmer might still be building, a smith might be known for his craft, a husband might be teaching his son how to mend a fence or choose timber or read the weather over the water. You become none of those things. You raid for more than a decade, at least 14 expeditions, probably more. Enough that coastlines in foreign lands become familiar. Enough that the smell of wet wood, sea salt, and panic starts to feel like a season of its own. Enough that the line between memory and repetition wears thin. How many people do you kill? You do not know. No one truly knows. Men count victories when drunk and losses when sober, but killing itself becomes too common to measure honestly. Some died by your hand in clear memory. Others died in those blank stretches where rage took control and returned you only the aftermath. A few faces stay, most vanish. What do you gain? Reputation, first of all. The kind that enters a room before you do. The kind men respect from a safe distance. The kind that earns you a better share of silver and a worse place among ordinary people. You gain scars, a good chainmail shirt, a well-made knife, a bearskin heavy with history that is not really yours and then becomes yours anyway. You gain one winter with a woman who looked at you as if you might still be more than what battle made of you. You gain the knowledge that she was probably right, and the deeper knowledge that by then it no longer mattered. What do you lose? Your mother before you are old enough to understand her absence. Your father before either of you learns how to speak plainly. Your teacher without receiving the final lesson you always believed he was withholding. Your closest friend on a cold field under foreign stars. Your knee, your sleep, your memory in fragments, your peace entirely. And beneath all of that, you lose something harder to describe. The ability to sit near a fire with other people and belong there without effort. That may be the worst loss of all. Did you believe in the gods? Yes, at least in the way men around you did, in sacrifice, omens, luck, doom, courage, and the shape of fate as something already woven. But toward the end, belief changes. It grows quieter, less like trust, more like habit, more like repeating words because silence would be more frightening than prayer. In the end, your life is simple to explain and hard to forgive. You were pointed in one direction early, 12 years old and already being hollowed out into purpose. Men called it training, need, tradition, strength. But a cleaner word exists: weapon. A weapon does not choose where it is swung. A weapon does not decide which body is worthy of breaking. A weapon is sharpened, used, worn down, and eventually set aside when its edge becomes unreliable. You wanted, somewhere under all of it, to be something else. Not good, maybe, not gentle, just human enough to be remembered for more than fear. But no one asked what you wanted. Not your father, not Ulf, not the Jarls, not the men who cheered before battle and kept their distance after it. No one asked. No one was ever going to. And that is your whole life.
Want another life? Watch the next story.